Hey guys, welcome back to the Simple Idea Podcast. My name is Makai Green, and today I have a special guest with me, Christine Liu of the YouTube channel Simply by Christine. Her work focuses on lifestyle design with an emphasis on things that are simple and sustainable. I just recently found her, and her channel kind of struck me as being very organic and raw. So I'm glad to have her on and to be able to have this conversation with her. Christine, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
No problem at all. Glad you're here. So what I typically do is I go straight into the meat and the potatoes of things with this show. So we're just going to go rapid fire questions and just kind of see where your head is at with some of these things I'm asking you.
Sounds good.
Right off the bat, what's your relationship with content creation, and why did you decide to start making YouTube videos? What goals do you have in mind for your channel? Like, where are you looking to take what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So I decided to start my YouTube channel and just my blog overall as a way to share my journey of living more sustainably. So it really all started when I was actually studying packaging and manufacturing in college, and I saw a huge disconnect between the things we consume and where they end up, and just an overall very unhealthy obsession with consumption and consumerism. So because of all those things, I was just encouraged to kind of share my story and spread awareness about how unhealthy our consumption is, and then also share some tips on minimal and sustainable living. And yeah, honestly, I haven't really stopped since. It's been about 5 years now. And in terms of goals, I'm just really hoping to build a community that is encouraged to make small lifestyle changes to better themselves and also the planet.
Okay, as for that whole community aspect, how have you gone about trying to build that up? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would say it's just building that online engagement and being really personable with my audience. I try to respond to every single email and comment I get, and I know that if my channel does grow, it's going to be more difficult to do so. But I also love hosting in-person meetups and workshops, and it's always so lovely to meet some of my subscribers and to just meet people in person, to be able to chat and build even like a local community here in the Silicon Valley where I do live.
All right, awesome. All right. So kind of moving into the next question here, but I'm going to word it like this. I understand that you shifted your lifestyle shortly after graduating from college. Why did you decide to do that? Like, what was that process, like a gradual one? Was it sudden? Like, I understand the whole you trying to stray away from consumerism, which I honestly agree with. I just recently went on this voyage myself here. But like, how, what, when, where? Could you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I would say that it initially kicked off when I was actually at a summer internship. It was my first one and my first time and experience living on my own in my very own apartment. And when I was just kind of going through my stuff, I was, at the time, I wouldn't call myself a shopaholic, but I was very obsessed with like getting new clothes, and I loved going shopping. So there was like one morning where I just woke up and I felt just so sick and tired of having to upkeep all those things. And that's when I discovered the capsule wardrobe. And that really intrigued me to think, wow, you can have a small amount of quality made pieces that are intentionally curated. And yeah, that's all you really need to get dressed every single day. So it really all started with, I would say, minimalism at first. But then as I continued to study packaging and also manufacturing, I was studying plastics in particular, and that really got me to start thinking about our relationship with plastics, because they're not very healthy for our bodies and also the planet. And the more I studied it and the more that I became aware of different statistics and facts, especially the fact that the US makes up 5% of the world's population but generates about 40% of the world's waste. That really got me to just start thinking about, like, what are we doing, and like, what can I do to lower my consumption, lower my waste, and just have a lighter impact on the planet. So I would say it was a couple years of a process. Minimalism was, I would say, I discovered it maybe 2 years before zero waste, but even till now, it's been maybe 7, 8 years. And I would say it's still an ongoing journey. And for zero waste living in particular, when I found out about it, it took me about 6 months to make the complete switch of, decluttering and like switching over all of my consumables to more eco-friendly options. And even though that was like a big shift in 6 months, again, it's still an ongoing journey and a learning process.
Okay, awesome. You did mention something about a capsule wardrobe. Could you explain a little further? I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah, so the idea of a capsule wardrobe is just having a set number of items. So it might be like 26 items in your wardrobe. It could be like 45 blouses or 45 pairs of shoes, etc. So it's like a very set number.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, the capsule wardrobe was actually made so that you switch it from season to season. So you might have like a spring and summer capsule wardrobe with more summery pieces, and then you switch it and transition it over to the more winter and fall pieces once the weather changes. But for me, I think it was just the whole concept of just having that set number or just like a lot fewer items that are easy to mix and match with and very versatile pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That just sounded so freeing. So for me, it wasn't necessarily having a very seasonal scheduled wardrobe every single year. It was just about having that intentional 20 or so items in my wardrobe.
Yeah, I think I find myself going through something very similar at this point in time too. Just recently, I kind of revamped my whole wardrobe, and it's kind of where I have like 3 or 4 main shirts that I have. Like I have like a navy blue shirt, a gray shirt, a white shirt. Then I bought a few pairs of shorts that are relatively, close or pretty much the same. And I have a few pairs of jeans, but that's pretty much the outfits that I cycle through, and it makes just like figuring out what I'm going to be wearing the next day a little bit easier. And on top of that, I actually have, I'm intentional about what I'm wearing, because at one point I had clothes that I just wouldn't touch for months on end or at all, and it kind of just sat there. So being more intentional with that is cool. And I guess that fits into your whole idea or concept of sustainability and actually like being purposeful with what you're consuming or using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so this is kind of banking off of minimalism a little bit more, but how can most people take a jab or kind of start peeking into minimalism without over injecting themselves into unfamiliar territory? Like, what's a good starting point for the average person?
Yeah, so I know there's a big push to Marie Kondo everything and declutter the heck out of your house, but honestly, I think my number one tip is to just try to not buy anything besides like consumables like food and like, the necessary things. Just try not buying anything for a month and really assess like your thought process and how you are relating to your purchases and your overall stuff. And you'd be surprised to see that when you just really hold off on purchasing things, you really don't need a lot of the things that marketers tell you that you do need. So that's just a really simple tip. Just try it for a month and just see how your relationship with your purchases are.
Okay, that makes sense. And now with the age of the internet and digital media and advertising everywhere you look, I guess it could be a little difficult, especially when you have giants like Google, Amazon always throwing ads and stuff in your face and just being able to buy anything in literally a split second.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, totally understandable. And I think that is a good tip. So going off track a little bit here, but still following this theme, I guess you could say. What's your take on routines and like more specifically morning routines? Do you have one? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it isn't? Are people missing out if they don't have a morning routine? And what does yours consist of?
Yeah, so I'm a very structured person. I love having routines, but I think there's definitely a balance between being flexible and having like a very strict routine. I know that when I was working a full-time job, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, try to go exercise by 6:30, have a small breakfast and do all my devotionals and be ready for work by 8:30. And man, that was really tiring. And now that I'm working freelance for myself, I have the flexibility to wake up a little bit later and, like have a little bit of grace on myself, because I think there's definitely like this stigma that you have to wake up early, but it can be really tiring and also damaging to your body when you like push yourself that much. And I would often crash. So I would say that my routine right now, it's not super strict. It's not like I wake up every single day at like 6:30. It's more of like I wake up around 7 to 8 o'clock, and then I'll typically read my Bible in the morning, go on a run with my dog Cooper, and then have breakfast. So pretty simple, but I just like really try to take it slow and enjoy the moment. And I know that not everyone has that luxury, but yeah, I would say that having like a somewhat similar routine of like things that you do really does help to get your day started on the right foot.
Yeah. Okay. So you basically just find things that you enjoy or things that like kind of work for you, and obviously that's what you do. I feel like there's this notion that you have to wake up early. You have to wake up at the crack of dawn and have a set routine where you hit X, Y, Z. That's what it seems like. So I think a lot of people have that idea in terms of what brings success. But recently I've heard more people saying, "Hey, do what works well for you. If we have to wake up at 9 or 10, or if you're not a morning person, you're a night person, kind of follow what works for you because success can come in all different types of shapes or sizes here." All right, awesome. So somewhat similar question, I guess you could say. You appear to be someone who maintains like a relatively healthy diet compared to others, I guess, or the majority of the population. Has that always been the case? Like, what's your diet, your regimen? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I personally wouldn't call myself the healthiest person in the world. Maybe my friends would think otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think my body and skin just naturally shies away from like deep fried or heavy, unhealthy foods, and also just really tries to stay in balance. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to shy away from like the fried foods every so often. It's just about having everything in moderation and balance. So I might get something fried or like a big bucket of fries, but I'll share it and I'll try to get like a salad on the side to like really offset it.
Okay.
But yeah, the other thing I also like to do is I try to avoid meat or try to eat less meat because it's a really great way to lower your footprint on the planet, but it's also healthier for you too.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I'm somebody, I try to eat healthier. Obviously, I include like a protein, like a meat. I don't know too much about how good meat is or bad for the environment. So I mean, I do eat proteins. I still get my carbs, my vegetables. I try to have a well-rounded diet in that sense. But just you probably have more information on this. But like, what's so bad about meat? Like, how is it affecting our planet? I am curious.
Yeah, so the meat industry is pretty heavy in terms of using our resources on the planet, especially for cattle. So, red meat in particular, it takes quite a bit of land, and there's been a lot of deforestation happening because of the meat industry. So, that's really huge when it comes to offsetting carbon.
Okay.
The second thing is that cows also emit methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas as well. So, that's one thing.
Okay.
But yeah, if you just think about when you grow a vegetable versus growing a whole cow, the vegetable takes much less to grow, much less resources, and much less resource intensive compared to a cow or a pig, for example. And a cow or a pig, you're going to feed it all the vegetables that you grow. You're going to have to clean out all of the waste that it produces as well. And a lot of the meat industries and the factory farms, they don't really do it responsibly because everyone here, especially in the United States, we're a very meat-heavy, diet-based culture. So we eat so much meat that huge demand is pushing a lot of these factory farms to do really unethical practices with how they harvest the meat and also how they grow it and whatnot.
Yeah, and now more than ever, you see that on social media a lot about like inhumane conditions for these animals that are in just these meat plants, I guess you could call them at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's pretty disturbing to kind of think. And yeah, we just really don't have that connection anymore that we used to our farms and to the people that grow our food. And it just comes to us, packaged in the grocery store. And we don't have to think about it. But there's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we aren't really seeing anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It really makes you think about what you're eating. So I guess for me, after having that conversation, I kind of should be a little more conscious of what I'm eating. But now that I think about it. But what do you do for protein replacements? Like, would you recommend something outside of meat that might be easier for somebody to get onto right off the bat?
Yeah, so I love legumes and also tofu. I think growing up in a Taiwanese family, we always ate tofu. So I'm really easily able to like substitute that in different ways. And honestly, there's so many good recipes and vegan bloggers out there that use different like legumes and beans and tofu in all these different ways that you would have never really anticipated, I guess, if you were like a heavy meat eater. And I think the way that they use food is so creative. So I just recommend like search up like different YouTube videos, search up different bloggers out there that have those vegan lifestyles and those diets and share their recipes. But of course, it's also really good to check in with your doctor first. Now, that is a mistake that I did make. So you make sure you have all the supplements that you need as well, because a lot of the legumes and the proteins that we don't eat, they are missing vitamin B12, which is only found in meat. And that's really vital for your energy levels.
And at that point, is that a supplement that comes into, like, do you need supplements to kind of make up for that lack of vitamin B12?
So I have to take B12 since I eat less meat. So that's one of the things. I also eat some iron and also D3.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. Well, that's good to know. something I probably should look into. Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving into a little bit of a different area here. This is more like self-help, personal development. So kind of tying it back into my podcast a bit. But what measures do you put into place to kind of make sure you're continually growing as a person?
Yeah, so I think ever since I started going into college and really trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, I set goals for myself, whether it's every school quarter or at this point, it's every year. So I set goals for myself in my career and also my personal life, whether it's like, oh, I want to be able to commit to meeting up with a friend or a close peer at least like every other week. So that could be one thing. Or for my career, it could be I hope to at least churn out one video per week for the next month and see what happens. And then I usually also do a check-in every half year to kind of see how I'm doing with those goals and readjust them as needed based on like whatever happens in my personal life. But yeah, at least this year I'm a little bit late to checking in. So thanks for the thanks for the reminder on
that. Yeah, kind of calling you out on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, goals are definitely something that people should obviously strive to have. So then keeping on top of those goals are obviously a good thing. So just your thought on this. I feel like you're gonna have a very interesting response to this. So I'm excited to ask it. But what's one thing in life that you think people should place more value in? Whether it's like relationships, fitness, traveling, what do you personally believe is something that more people don't really, or they should pay attention to that they don't?
I honestly think it's relationships. I'm actually an introvert. I've become an introvert over time. But yeah, I just never regret the times I get to spend usually like one-on-one with friends to really get deep into how they're doing. And those are the most rich conversations that I have. And honestly, yeah, the relationships that we have with friends and family are so precious, even though they can be really challenging because you have some bumps in the road, but they provide a lot more depth and meaning compared to the stuff that we own or the hobbies that we might pursue. And yeah, I can just honestly say that when you are deeply involved with people in your life, you sharpen each other. And that's something that you won't really get by being on your own. So it might be really challenging, but it's something that I really encourage because I think with social media and with technology, we've really drawn towards ourselves as individuals, and it's so easy to just like entertain yourself. But yeah, I just really encourage people to get out there and to like reconnect with old friends, new friends, and just really go deep on whatever it might be.
Yeah, for me personally, this is something that I struggled with over the past year and a half, I want to say. So at the start of this year, I've kind of made more of a conscious effort to reach out to friends, not be so heavily involved with the internet or just technology, like kind of put it to the side and, you know, kind of like work on growing relationships or just appreciating the time that I have with people, because time and relationships are finite. People do go, people do come. So I think it's just about making the most of the time that you do have with the people in your life for as long as they are there.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah. And just a quick question for you. You said that you are becoming more introverted. Were you more extroverted before? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, so I took the Myers-Briggs test, as we all did. I did it in high school, and I was an extrovert, or I was like pretty much 50-50, but definitely a majority extrovert. And then after I started working, I became an introvert. And I think it might be because of the nature of my work and wanting to kind of really focus on my efforts as a blogger. And you kind of have to do that on your own. It's kind of difficult to get other people involved. But I don't know, it just kind of changed. And I guess people change. So I know that I kind of changed as well.
So you're saying just with blogging, you were kind of like something you're just kind of doing on your own. And since you're like kind of in your own world, blogging, typing away, doing whatever you're doing, like you were like separated from interacting with people for the most part?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it really all changed because when I was in my last quarter of college, I went to a social entrepreneurship program in Germany, which really got me kickstarted with my whole venture, which is my blog and my channel, to really spread awareness about the issue of waste.
Okay.
And that was such a life-changing experience to be able to work with people from the whole world, just like all in one area. And when I was really able to kind of like focus on my efforts and the mission that I had as an individual to spread awareness about what I knew in my education, I think I just became a little bit different. And like when you have those experiences and then versus a lot of my friends didn't have the privilege of being able to go to a program such as that, right? It really just changes how you think, and then you start to feel a little bit different and ostracized. I remember like just coming back from Germany, and after 10 weeks in that program, I came back to the US and I felt like a culture shock just being around Americans and like the convenience that they had and just how consumeristic they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that I became a lot more thoughtful and always in my thoughts. And that really got me to start thinking like, what can I do about it? And I was always thinking about what to do next.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I see what you're saying. Just experiencing that, you
Yeah.
kind of had a different outlook. And I guess here, obviously it's a bit different with how we do things here. So maybe some of your friends just weren't on the same page with you.
Yeah, but it's all good. I mean, they're still my friends. It's just that I'm just on a totally different wavelength based on my life's experiences.
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of in the same boat with that with some of my friends, but that doesn't change the relationship you have with them. It just kind of adds another layer to it. Yeah, just another layer. So there's nothing wrong with that. But all right, so now I have some quick questions for you, and just like very, very quick questions. What's the next biggest improvement that you want to make in your personal life? Like, what haven't you done yet that you kind of really are striving to do?
Yeah, I would say being satisfied and content with myself, regardless of who I am or how others perceive me, and also my results. Because I've always been a very results-driven person, so that usually can get the best of me. Especially when it comes to content creation, you know, like you're always kind of looking at those views and those likes. And while those are good measures to kind of determine how effective your content is, it can be kind of tiring to always have to upkeep with that. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is to be able to find my true self and just accept myself for who I am and have a good balance that's healthy of understanding people's perspective of me versus like me being all right with the way I am today.
Yeah, that's still something that I'm learning to do too. And I mean, it definitely is. I obviously feel more comfortable with my skin compared to the day before and the day before that. But it's just an ongoing process where you just slowly, you know, you're content, you're satisfied, you realize that, you know, that kind of comes from within. So I get what you're saying. Right. So next question for you: do you have a favorite content creator? And if so, who is it and why? If you don't, that's completely fine. I'm just curious. It doesn't even have to be a YouTuber. It could be a sculptor, an artist, a musician. Who kind of gives you inspiration?
Oh. Okay, I was thinking a YouTuber. So I guess I'll just like pop out a few favorites because it's so difficult to choose particular artists because there's so many, right? Definitely. I know. So I tend to gravitate towards content creators that are different from me, or like, I guess it's really easy to kind of look towards people in your own niche and compare yourself to them. But I always look outside of my realm, kind of see like what are other people doing. So for YouTube channels, one that I really do love, though it's not as active anymore, is Will Derbyshire. He's a YouTube filmmaker. So I really love his style and just how genuine his videos are. The second one is another YouTube channel called Never Too Small, which highlights small apartment renovations, which I think is really interesting. That's something I'd love to get into sometime in the future. Yeah. But yeah, honestly, I just get inspiration from a bunch of people. Trying to think if there's any other artists that I'm currently loving right now. I know Maggie Rogers is one artist I've been listening to a lot, and I'm going to her concert in September.
I'm not familiar, but I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, I love her music because I think the way that she writes her music and the style of it is just pretty unique compared to a lot of other pop music that you hear on the radio today. And let me think. There's also a duo from Britain called Oh Wonder, which they're coming out with their third album, and I'm so excited for it. But they're another great duo that I really like too.
All right, awesome. You're dropping a lot of gems here, so I'm going to have to go back and listen to it just to pick up on these. But we'll definitely look into it. And I kind of want to share a creator with you who I found around October or November of 2018. If you want to look into it, his channel is very organic, very raw, similar to yours. So that's why your channel struck a chord with me. And big fan of your content, by the way. Just found it recently, but you're doing a great job and just love the content. So his channel kind of reminds me of yours. It's called Made by Spencer. So have you heard of that channel at all?
I haven't. I will definitely look it up though.
I guess I've been on YouTube for as long as YouTube's been around, just like most people, I guess. But I don't know, in all my years of watching YouTube, like that channel, I don't know what it is or what it was, but it hit me hard. Like by far my favorite channel I've ever come across. So every chance I get, I try to share it with people. And he's not as active on it as much anymore. But not too long ago, he posted a video on there. So if you want to check it out, it's also pretty cool. I feel like you might enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully we can get him on the podcast.
Yeah, actually, I reached out to him and he said, yeah, but he's a pretty busy guy. I think he's a film director out in Hollywood, so he's probably doing something over there. But yeah, like he has like 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers, but some of the best content I've seen on the platform ever, really.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Please do. All right, so next question for you, coming up on last few. If you read any books, what's your favorite, and what's one that you would recommend that most people read at some point during their lifetime?
Yeah, so I was thinking of 2 books that have really impacted me. The first one is actually a faith-based book because I'm Christian. It's Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis.
Okay.
And I mean, for me, just like understanding the meaning of life, like he really breaks it down so well. And he was an atheist. So just being able to read through his thoughts and his thought process was actually, it's a really difficult read, but it was so rewarding because I almost fell away from the faith when I was in college. So that was kind of like, it really got me started back up again. The second one is a sustainability book. It's called Cradle to Cradle. It's about sustainable product design and just being really wary of, you know, the things that we put into our products and how they affect the environment and our bodies as well. So I thought it was a really good read.
Okay, that's great to hear. I haven't heard of either of those, but definitely something I will look into because I'm always looking to read. Yeah. Just one of my favorite pastimes. So thanks for those recommendations. For those of you who are listening,
of course.
Check it out as well. So last question for you, and I know you said you don't eat insanely healthy, but like you're relatively healthy. What's your guilty pleasure food?
Oh, yeah. It is a warm, fresh from the oven chocolate chip cookie with dark chocolate chips and a scoop of ice cream on top.
That sounds great. The American classic.
Oh, so good.
All right.
I'm craving it now.
Yeah, actually, that kind of sounds good the more you talk about it. That's a good description.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Christine. That actually brings us to the end of the episode and all the questions that I have for you. Before we do end it, though, I do want to mention or ask you, I guess I should say, if you have anything you would like me to link or plug or anything I can share with my audience that you want to check out.
Yeah, sure thing. So feel free to check out my blog, which is called Simply by Christine. I have an Instagram profile as well as a YouTube channel. And then the second thing is I also have a book which was released last October. It's called Sustainable Home. So it provides tips on sustainable living in your home in particular. And it goes room by room with like different projects and ideas and concepts. So yeah, that's something that I worked on when I was still working full time and didn't have all the time to work my blog. So pretty much like all the stuff I was ever thinking about putting on the blog is kind of in there too. So yeah, I would highly recommend that if you guys are interested, and stay tuned for book tour events as well, since I'm trying to hit up different places when I have the chance.
Right, that sounds great. I'm definitely going to check out your book, by the way. So I'll let you know when I get it.
Okay.
But everything that you just mentioned will be linked in the description below, or not below, but in the description, excuse me. So thanks, Christina. I appreciate you coming on and talking healthy living with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me as well. It was great.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share with a friend and subscribe on iTunes. Also, if you get around to it, feel free to leave a review. It takes about 30 seconds, and I personally really appreciate it. It kind of just helps the podcast get more exposure, and it also lets me know what I'm doing well. But that's all I had for you guys this week, and enjoy the rest of yours. I'll catch you next time.